everybody, and welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast Wednesday edition. I'm Alec Caberna. That's Matt Morrison. Don't have any high school football for you today. However, we do have some breaking news coming out of the NFL. This just in about 15, 20 minutes ago. This is a pre-record, so this will already have been out for a couple hours. But the Snyder family is selling the Washington Commanders. So there is that big news coming out. Perhaps this means the Commanders might become a good football team eventually.
Maybe.
They're not right now.
No, not right now. Not right now.
But I think that's all the breaking news we have. Mike and I got quite a bit of it yesterday, Matt, with the trade deadline happening an hour after the show closed. So,
yep.
Had quite a few. I want to get your thoughts, though, on the Chase Claypool trade, because obviously that was kind of the big one of the deadline, at least for the Steelers. They did get a player from Washington in a corner, but I want to hear your thoughts on the Claypool trade.
I mean, wide receivers nowadays are a dime and a dozen. We know that. I mean, they trade away, we get a draft pick. I mean, he had some good catches this year. He was grooming. I thought he was going to be pretty good, but I mean, in the end, I mean, we get an extra pick out of him. I mean, it is what it is. If the Steelers thought that was the right thing to do, then, I mean, they know more than I do. So, I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. It's a business.
Yeah. So. And, Chase Claypool, he was drafted in the second round. He was the 14th pick or 17th pick in the second round back in 2020. Yeah, you're right. Bit of a down year at the moment. I mean, 311 yards, just one touchdown, and just 32 receptions. I think part of the problem is, I mean, obviously, they weren't able to throw the ball very well or downfield whatsoever so far this season.
No.
I like the move for Chicago's side of things. They got a second rounder from San Fran, and they sent their own second rounder to the Steelers. I don't think either one of those picks would have been overall that great, because I think Chicago can go on a bit of a run now here late or midway through the season. But from a 3-5 team, it's a pretty good draft pick. If you're the Steelers on the side of things, you go, this might be a top 10 pick in that second round. Obviously, Chicago's now hoping with this move that Claypool kind of goes back to what he did in that rookie year of his when he put up 873 yards and 9 touchdowns. But he's never really had the production that you wanted, and we're hoping for him to develop into that number one wide receiver.
Yeah, and for him to go back to the Midwest too, where he came out of Notre Dame. So, I mean, to go out there and to be with Justin Fields, I think he becomes a big target for Justin Fields. I think they're going to rebuild there, and he's going to be a big piece. So.
I think it's the right kind of piece too that you need.
Yeah,
it does. You now have a high target that Fields can throw to. I mean, done with the small guys. Now you get a big-bodied wide receiver like that in there. Fields should be able to find him no problem down the field. And I think right now Chicago has one of the top-rated passing attacks in the NFL at the moment. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I saw something earlier today.
Okay.
Either way, let's go ahead and get into some of the events going on here on YSN and our family of teams. Last night, Poland and Lakeview win at it. Girls playoff soccer in Division 3. Poland came out with the win 4-0. Matt, this is a group. They now move on to the regional finals. They put together a really great postseason run. Haven't allowed any points. They won the district final 1-0 over Mooney. Won regional semifinal 4-0 over Lakeview. And now they have to take on a number 1 seeded Manchester on the 5th. Both teams coming in as 1 seeds. Manchester out of Akron is currently 19-2. They've only allowed 12 total goals on the entire season, and they come off a 1-0 win over Chippewa. And Poland 18-3. They've only allowed 10 goals on the season. They're both two really great teams coming into this matchup. This coming Saturday. It's at Howland, so Poland's going to have a little bit of closer home field advantage than Manchester will. And with how great of a season they've had, I really like them to go to the state semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, they've been having a pretty good year this year. I mean, I agree with you there. They could make a run. They could. But pieces all got to go together.
Yeah, I mean, you have to continue to play basically perfect ball at this point of the year. I mean, it gets about as hard as possible to win games, especially this is the only 1 seed on 1 seed matchup in the Division III girls soccer bracket. The other ones, you got a 2 versus 1 down in the Cincinnati portion. Region 10 is a 1 seed versus a 4. And in the Region 11, you got a 1 seed on a 3 seed. So, and actually the 1 seed won their last matchup via forfeit over there in Region 11. Lynchburg Clay won by default over North Adams.
Yeah.
But I think you look around and Poland, I really think has a good a shot as any to make this run the distance. I mean, if they get past Manchester, that's probably the biggest test on this schedule. I mean, the number 1 seed in Cincinnati is 16-5. Ottawa Glandorf is 17-1-2. They've only allowed 8 goals, but Poland has them outscored by quite a big margin. So, I mean, this kind of feels like, winner of this one probably goes on to take a state title. So long as out in this match.
Yeah.
In the Division II tournament, Canfield took down West Branch last night. They now move into the regional finals. They will take on the 2-seeded Bay Rockets out of Bay Village. Bay's had one heck of a run. They beat Buckeye 5-0. They took down Hoban 4-2. However, Canfield's done pretty great things as well. They took down a 2-seeded Kenston and the number 1-seeded West Branch. And, you talk about strength of schedule in the postseason. It doesn't get much harder than that. Maybe the one downside between Bay and Canfield, this is the only bracket in the entire division where it's not 1 seeds going up against one another. Region 8 has a 1-seeded Summit Country Day against 1-seeded Waynesville. Region 7 is number 1 New Philly against number 1 Marietta. Region 6 is number 1 Memorial versus number 1 Copley, my alma mater. So I was pretty excited to see that in there. But there's been a very competitive region. In Region 5, obviously Canfield pulling back-to-back upsets. Bay now would technically go into this as the favorite, being the higher seed. But I think with the way Canfield has played in this postseason, Matt, you really have to look at them as a very strong contender to continue pulling upsets and make a deep run.
Yeah, I mean, Canfield, this team is, we've been talking about them all year. I think they're quite capable of making a deep run. They just got to go out there and do what they've been doing all year. So, it should be a pretty good matchup. I think Canfield can pull this one out. Canfield's been in some tough matchups. I think they're prepared.
Right. They've definitely gone toe-to-toe with the best around. I agree there. Going on tonight, regional semifinal action between the boys squad for Poland and the boys team for Howland. So 1 versus 3 seed. Howland's the 1. And it was a tie in the last round that they win by, default. And there's a tie. It goes to the higher seed. So Howland got the benefit of a 1-1 game against Kenston to move on. And they've been really spectacular. They've only allowed 7 goals. However, they're more of a defensive-oriented team. They've only scored 55 times throughout the year, so definitely not one that you're going to see just run the brakes off of you. While Poland allowed a little bit more goals. They've allowed 12 on this 16-game winning streak, which is insane from their 18-2-1 schedule. They've won 16 in a row now. They've also put up 93 goals, so quite different teams going into this matchup. We always talk defense wins championships because the offense doesn't always show up. Scoring hasn't really been a problem, though, for Poland this year. They've been able to get it done in all conditions. Maybe the one thing I worry about, I'm looking out my window. It's been really foggy all day long.
Yeah.
Here.
It was
you almost wonder if that carries into the night, how that could potentially impact that kind of game and your passes down the field, your runs. You're going to have a really hard time getting those through balls. So I think with the weather conditions we at least have currently, I think I would actually take Howland to take this matchup because defense, when weather conditions kind of go down, really kind of pushes to the forefront of these kind of games, especially this late in the postseason. So I like Howland to continue on.
Yeah, Howland's a pretty good team. But Poland, this is boys, right? We're talking boys.
Yeah, boys.
Yeah, they had a big win against Canfield in the last game. But, Howland's pretty good. I'm going to go Poland here. I think Poland can continue.
All right. I like to hear it. Right. Next one up, Division III boys soccer again here, Matt. United as a 3 seed is going to be taking on the 1-seeded Ottawa Hills in their regional semifinal in Region 10 tonight. This one's going to be all the way up in Sandusky, so quite a far drive that's up by Cedar Point for those of you. Ottawa Hills comes out of Toledo. Obviously, United comes out of Hanoverton, so neither group really having this one close at all. They did a great job, I think, finding maybe a little bit of a middle point for these two schools. But Ottawa Hills, they come in 15-4-1. And I look back at their schedule. I just have to point out this one particular game. I don't know if this was just a mistype somewhere, but it has the Ottawa Hills Green Bears beating the Northwood Rangers 25-0 in a soccer game.
Yeah.
I would like to say that's a typo, but it's not the only time double digits were put up against Northwood this season.
No.
So, quite a potent attack, I think we would say, for this Green Bear squad. And they had Alex Duran, sophomore, had 4 goals in that game. They had, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 kids get the hat trick. That's insane. That's one heck of a performance. They also put up 14 against Genoa area here in the postseason as well. So quite the team is Ottawa Hills. No discount on United, because I look at them, Matt, 139 goals scored for them this season. They've only allowed 5, which is just about as impressive as it can get. 17-1-2. They've lost once in a 1-0 game to Salem. They tied to Ursuline 0-0. They tied Crestview 2-2. This is just a monumental game. This should honestly be a state championship caliber game tonight in the regionals. And it's only a trip to the regional finals on the line in this one. So it's not like this is for all the marbles, but this probably could turn out to be the best matchup of this entire postseason.
It looks like it. I mean, by the sound of it, I mean, team putting up 25 points in a game and going and playing out against another team that's pretty good too. I mean, that's going to be pretty – yeah, it's going to be tough. I don't think they'll be putting up that much in that game.
Yeah, but, Matt, that is the rate of scoring in that is – they're scoring more than once every 4 minutes in a 25-0 game. That's insane for soccer. That is insane. Like football, maybe you can see that kind of score happening. Soccer, though, that is ridiculous. And they even have stats to prove it that, they had kids score that many goals. So, I mean, I'm going by that 25-0 score line.
Yeah.
That's immaculate. I really would like to pick them, but I'm going to be the homer here. I'm going United. They have had such a strong defense. No way those Bears get 25 in this one.
Yeah, I'm going United as well.
On the other side of this, that was Region 10. On Region 9, Cardinal Mooney is the 1 seed going up against Wycliffe tonight at 6 p.m. in Boardman. So much closer to home for this game for those of you going to travel out. But a Mooney team, I mean, we talked about earlier, a couple of these other teams' defense has kind of been the storyline. They're kind of more of a mix of good offense, good defense, not quite the scoring totals we've seen from others, and not quite the defensive showings. It feels like every Mooney athletic team at the moment. They look, obviously pretty good because they're the 1 seed, but statistically, all right, see some average play in there. And then here they are in the postseason going on a big run. They took down JFK in the first round the other night. And Wycliffe, actually, Matt, they beat your Badger Braves not that long ago either. That was
I know.
But I think this is tuning up to be a really good game. I've been kind of a Mooney homer for a while. I took him in the postseason in football this past week. I'm not changing things up. I'm going Mooney over Wycliffe to potentially take on Beechwood or Norwayne in the regional final next week or next Saturday.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But, I mean, Wycliffe, Mooney, it's going to be one heck of a game. I don't know. I'll probably stick YSN loyal here and go Mooney. Especially, I mean, you talk about their football team too. Like, they're on a Cinderella run. If we can get past this round, that's going to be amazing. But back
Matt,
to
what's up with this Mooney, just entire school always playing the Cinderella run?
I don't know. I think it fits them, though. It fits them. Like, you always see Mooney as a Cinderella story. They're not like, yeah, like they know
they used to be top dog, but now they're definitely, middle of the road. Hey, we're still going to play with you, though.
Yeah, they're going to fight. They fought with Ursuline.
That they did. Girls volleyball state championship playoffs right now. Crestview and Wellsville are the final two YSN teams standing. Crestview is going to take on Menor Lake Catholic and Barberton tonight, or pardon me, not tonight, tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in the regional semifinal. Lake Catholic this season, Matt, they are 23-2 with 10 set losses. They've won their last 5 games. Crestview obviously had a really long streak of not losing any sets. They finally lost a couple games here at the end of the year. They're on a 6-game win streak and have won 73 sets, lost just 9 sets. A very impressive team, but their 2 losses have come on the road, so maybe something to watch out for. They've allowed 2 set wins in their last 2 games while winning 6, so it's been a really good run for them. I mean, they've won 12 of 14 playoff sets so far, and for Menor Lake Catholic, see what they've got going on. They have won all 9 of their sets in the postseason so far. So, I mean, it's about neck and neck when you compare these 2 schools. With that being said, I saw Crestview earlier this year, and I was so impressed by him. I would be hard-pressed to ever pick against them. So I'm going with the Rebels to continue their run.
Me too.
In the last round, now they take down Menor Lake Catholic.
Yeah, I mean, Crestview, I mean, they've beaten some tough teams. Lakeview was in there. I mean, Lakeview was a tough team, and they took it to them. I'm gonna roll Crestview here too. They're having a storybook year this year. I don't know. They might go.
They could. Another team that might go is the 1-seeded Wellsville Tigers tonight. Matt, they have a team that's been infamous in this region, Ashtabula St. John's here in volleyball. Wellsville 26-1. They've only lost 8 sets the entire season, none of which have come in the postseason. They have been about as unstoppable as can be. St. John coming up 23-3 for them. This is a 1-seed on 1-seed matchup. Matt, you know we're going YSN on this run. I don't have
but St. John is one tough team. It's going to be tough.
This is just a regional semifinal too, and it's 2 1-seeds going up against one another. Winner of this one's either taking on a 3-seed or a 5-seeded Canton Central Catholic.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is a clear, hey, you win this, you likely have a state Final Four run at least in the bag. Potentially, of course.
Yeah, potentially.
But that's all the local events we have going on. We do have a couple of awards getting voted for at the moment here with YSN. Internally, of course, we're talking MVPs, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year, Special Team Players of the Years, Coach of the Year, and Team of the Year. Matt, I'm not going to reveal all of the picks that I've gone through so far, but I do kind of want to at least throw out our thoughts on some of this and kind of get our feel on where we think these awards are going to. Yeah. So first off, why don't we start Head Coach of the Year? To me, this is about as simple as it comes. Yeah. First undefeated season ever. First 10-win season in a decade. First time moving past the first round in a decade. Highest scoring offense in school history. Best defense in school history. Valley Christian's Andy Hake. In just 2 years with the program, he has taken them from a middle of the road to bottom feeder of the EOAC these last couple of seasons and has pushed them into a now playoff contender and a state title contender as well with that. So my thought immediately goes Andy Hake of Valley Christian. Obviously, Seth Antrim with Cheney, first year there, has done a great job as well with that program. I can't think of the coach of South Range, but they had a perfect season as well, and they've looked great. Well, what are your kind of thoughts on Coach of the Year at the moment?
I mean, definitely I'm going with Andy Hake. I mean, look what he's done. Like, without Hake, I mean, where they would be? He turned that program around in 2 years. 2 years, and they're contenders. Like, yeah, there's some other good coaches out there. I like all the other coaches that are out there as well. The South Range coach is a great guy. So, but I mean, it's got to be Andy Hake. I think it's not even going to be close. He's good. Great guy too.
Coach Hannah from Jefferson also kind of in that conversation. Coach Hannah, a similarly historic run. I mean, they're playing really good football as well at the moment. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot of teams, and maybe kind of an underrated one that I'd want to throw out there. I can't think of his name currently, but coach down at Struthers. I mean, for turning them around mid-season and now going on an absolute tear into the postseason. I know you kind of look for that entire season of work, but I mean, to get this entire team to buy into that motto of trust the climb and for it to actually have worked, and they're on their longest winning streak in years at this point, I would say down there in Struthers as well, you have a legit candidate for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, Struthers, he's like a sleeper. Like, this dude, like,
that's a sleeper pick for head coach of the year.
It is. Oh, it is. So, yeah.
But I agree. I like Andy Haken. Obviously, you and I might have a little bit of bias. We've covered him all season long.
Yeah, but I mean,
he has the numbers to go along with it.
Yeah.
MVP, Matt, in my opinion, this thing's a toss-up between Drew DeShields and Vinny Bellone. Those are the two legit candidates. I
like Vinny. I like Drew.
DeShields has 46 touchdowns in total, just one interception. Vinny Bellone, I think, has 49 passing touchdowns. Or no, he has 46 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Passing, Drew DeShields has 39 passing to 1 interception, 10 on the ground. I don't remember how many Vinny has on the ground as well, but those two about neck and neck, as close as it can come for an MVP discussion.
Yeah, I mean, without them on their teams, like, who knows where they would be. Vinny Ballone's been slinging it all year, so is Drew DeShields. Like, that's going to be really close. I
think those are the two kind of far away favorites when you look at, if there was an odds on who's taking home this award, it's likely one of those two guys. I do have maybe a little bit of a biased sleeper pick here, but I think he is the ultimate impact player that I have not seen anywhere else. That's Jontrell Mixon. When you talk literally the award most valuable player, how many other teams have a guy play as many different positions as Jontrell, and he excels at all of them? I mean, whether it's kickoff,
a couple, but I mean,
his extra point obviously isn't all that great, but to run the wildcat, to throw the football as the quarterback, to be the running back, to be the tight end, to be a defensive end, and for him to excel at every position and probably be the best player on that team. When you talk about most valuable, what does this team become if you took Jontrell off of it? Louisville still has the weapons they have on that team that obviously no one's putting up the numbers of Bellone, but they can probably still have a pretty good season. Same goes with Drew DeShields and West Branch. No one is having as good of a year as he, but because that's some elite talent over there. But you still probably have a pretty good team put together. I think if you take Jontrell off of Valley, I don't think they go undefeated. They lose a huge physicality edge, and I don't know how well they would have played against Southern without a guy like that. It's kind of a sleeper MVP pick right there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree there a little bit, but I mean, Jontrell wouldn't. I mean, they wouldn't be anything. I mean, they would be something. They'd be good, but I mean, take him out.
He gives you that physicality.
I'm sure. That's where the Coach of the Year comes in. No, he would figure something out. So, but yeah.
Special teams player of the year, Matt. I think at the moment, from what I've seen, Luke Courtney is the far away favorite. From Jackson Milton. That dude, I mean, he's kicking field goals from about wherever he wants, and I think he has the longest field goal of the year here on the network. So he's kind of looking like the far ahead favorite at the moment for special teams player of the year. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, there's some good kickers around. I mean, Cole Saloon with Brookfield, he's had a pretty good career or a pretty good year. But, I mean, Luke Courtney has shined. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a couple returners out there that Hartwig was throwing out as well that have had a really good season. Maybe a little lesser known because Courtney's had a lot of publicity for his legs so far this year. But I'll go next. Defensive player of the year. This one's kind of hard because every team has a defensive stud in their group. I mean, personally,
I'm going with.
In Valley Christian, I nominated Jackson Bragg because I know as good as Jontrell has been, I think Jackson Bragg has been an X factor on that defensive line that has been just utterly dominant all season. Every time I'm calling pressure on the quarterback, it has been Jackson Bragg because they have to double or triple team Jontrell, and he's really stepped up as the number 2 guy on that line and has really made an impact. I like Brett Carzone from Brookfield as well. I mean, the dude had one of the most dominant starts to the season I've seen out of any defensive back all year.
Yeah, I mean, the guy I'm sticking with here is A.J. Bartland. A.J. has been the sole piece to this defense. Connor here, yeah, you can throw him in there, but I mean, with Heater has been good, but I mean, AJ's been out there firing I mean, look at this. You called the game where he had 13 tackles in a game. Like, he's averaging 4 or 5 a game, and I mean, he's everywhere. You take him out of the game. I mean, they took him out for a little bit, and the defense just didn't look the same without AJ. And he's picked up a lot of slack because of the loss of Colin Murphy, who's out for the year. So, I mean, AJ really stepped up, and I think he deserves the credit for it. I mean, at least to mention him. I mean,
yeah, no, he's been really amazing.
Yeah.
Next award, Offensive Player of the Year. This one, it becomes extremely difficult, I think, to put in there because obviously, I mean, you could have the MVP in Malone or DeShields also take home this award. I think a lot of people have kind of gone NFL style of votes where, quarterback gets the MVP, somebody else has taken home that Offensive Player of the Year. Personally, I think this could go 100 different directions. Obviously, I really like Jashawn Lindsay out of Valley Christian. I thought he's been really great so far this year. Obviously, I'm showing a little bit of bias that I've covered them the majority of the year, but I also had Vinny Malone nominated for that Offensive Player of the Year. I was checking my votes were sent in, and I think he's that best offensive player I think I've ever seen take the field. So it'd be a shame not to give it to him. But you could give it to his wide receiver, Brady Bunofsky, as well. Jashawn Lindsay. I mean, there are plenty of guys to go around that could take home this award of teams that I didn't even mention. It's probably the hardest pick to have made. And I think whoever comes out Offensive Player of the Year, no one should really be upset it wasn't them because I think, you have probably about 100 guys that could go up for this award right now.
Oh, yeah, you definitely could. I mean, Offensive Player is a big honor to take. Vinny Malone could definitely take it, but, I mean, there's so many guys out there.
It's probably almost too hard just to, start naming them all here. We'll be here for the rest of the show trying to name every player that's deserving of that award.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Final one, Team of the Year. This has been pretty easy of a pick, I think, that I've seen so far. South Range is the super dog favorite here. Everything about them, no one's been within single digits of them, and no other team can say that outside, including the postseason as well. Obviously, Edison, I think, could have been in that conversation, but I think people just didn't like the strength of schedule and the fact that South Range has a strength of schedule. They've beaten everybody. They were so dominant. South Range they're kind of just that, easy pick. Hey, South Range, that's the best team of 2022 here on YSN for football.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, those awards will come out, I imagine, in the next couple of weeks as we exit out of the regular or out of the postseason. I don't know when they're officially coming out, though, so you will have to keep your eyes posted on the YSN website for those to come out. But, Matt, let's send it to a quick break here. We'll be right back after word from our sponsors here on Your Sports Network. When we come back, we're talking college football rankings, playoff rankings came out last night. We're going to be giving you our top 10s and discussing that when we return here on the Casual Sports Podcast.
I support police funding, securing our borders, and parental rights in education. I'm attorney Mark Hanni, the only Republican running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. I will always follow the law.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Hanni judge. Dave Johnson, chairman.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at MyersFamilyINS.com.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
I'm Mark Hanai, a conservative Republican. I believe in family values, the Second Amendment, and our Constitution. Vote for the only Republican running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. Protect your rights. Vote Hanai for judge.
Welcome back into the Casual Sports Podcast. I'm Alec Cabrera. That's Matt Morris, and we're going to be talking about college football top 10 here that we put out, and we'll talk probably a little bit about the rankings that were released by the official committee to decide our final four teams in the nation. So, Matt, why don't we go ahead and jump right into this? If you want to see the entire poll at the end of the show, it will go live on our Twitter page at Casual Sports Rep. So make sure to check in there. But without any further ado, number 10. UCLA Bruins. Matt, you look at them, they put together as impressive as a season as anybody. The one knock against them, they lost to Oregon by double digits, but they beat Washington, who was a top 25 team, not anymore. They beat Utah, who's ranked high, and they beat Stanford just a week ago. They really bounced back well, 38-13 over the Cardinals. DTR had a pretty good game, but it was Zach Charbonnet who's really been the bell cow for this team this year. 198 yards for him in this game with 3 rushing touchdowns.
I feel like he's been playing for years. Charbonnet.
Yeah, I mean, both of them have, and that's why this group has had the season they have. They have so much experience. No one from this group has really garnished any national attention. Charbonnet also had 61 receiving yards as well in this game, led the team. So, I mean, total, 260 yards about. So, I mean, what a performance it was for him in that game against Stanford. But UCLA has had about as good of a run as anyone could have expected out of them this year. They've done everything you could have asked out of them. The one knock again, or actually I'll say 2 knocks. They lost to Oregon, and the 1-point win over South Alabama remains a big question mark on that schedule of what happened in that game. I mean, because their offense was there, their defense just forgot to show up, and that's kind of been a problem in their bigger games. Their defense has definitely been exposed, but I still think with the way this offense performed, their consistency, they remain one of the 10 best teams in the nation. And personally, I had them sitting at number 9. I'm kind of a toss-up on the way these 3 Pac-12 teams should go in order, but I have UCLA as one of those top 3.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA, they had a pretty good year. I mean, you talk about Zach Charbonnet and DTR, like they've turned this around out there in California. UCLA hasn't been relevant. Like it's always been those, USC, of course it's USC, but I mean, all those other teams out there in California, like you think about it, like UCLA, they haven't been here in years. So to see that, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this Chip Kelly era, it's getting off pretty well. I mean, a couple of years to really kind of find its flow, but,
everybody knows Chip Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, 5th season now, and with the great year they've had, he's still only 24 and 26 as their head coach. So, I mean, clearly a long way to go to get this program, but the fact that both USC and UCLA are having great seasons, and they're, 2 years away from going into the Big Ten, I would say they're pretty much on the right track.
Yeah, I believe they are. Yeah.
Oh, I just got something here. I'm going to pull this up here in a second. A little bit of some breaking news-ish. Not necessarily urgent news, but
it's about the Kansas head coach?
No. Cavs just unveiled, this was just leaked, Cavs City jerseys this year. What are your thoughts? The land, I mean, it's kind of basic, and it's kind of just not all that different from our regular jerseys.
From Looney Tunes.
What's that?
Looks like something from Looney Tunes.
I would agree. I don't know how to feel about that. Either way, I just saw that pop up on my Twitter feed as I was going to our page.
I tell you what, I'm warming up to the white jerseys with the gold calves on it. I'm warming up to it quick. I've
really liked the jerseys this year, and I didn't when they were released over the summer, but I really like them now.
Yeah, I want to dominate.
Maybe it's because they're winning. Who knows?
That could be a big part of it. More when they're winning. You do.
Yeah. At number 9, though, the other California team. The USC Trojans, they make this in. I had them as the 10 seed. Mike had them at the 9. Matt, you have them at the 8. So we go in descending order. I guess I'll give my reasoning for having them at the 10 instead of at the 9 or 8 where you guys did. Personally, this season, I look at the schedule and what's their marquee win? Oregon State, it was 17-14, a 3-point game. Oregon State's, they've definitely gotten better as the season has gone on, but I don't know if I really consider that a great win. And then their most recent game, it was an 8-point victory over 3-5 Arizona Wildcats. They lost by 1 to Utah, and it was an emotional game for the Utes. So it's kind of one for USC. You're like, yeah, I didn't really want you to win that game anyway. Utah needed that for their program, obviously, and for their recovery process as well after losing their players in such a tragic way. But to me, USC, they don't have that win. UCLA does. Oregon does. USC is the one of that 3 group of the pack.
They're going to match up
that I haven't seen. Yeah.
November 19th.
That'll be the matchup down on November 19th. And that'll really decide. Actually, it might decide who goes to the Pac-12 championship all in all. And I think both Chip Kelly and Lincoln Riley have done a great job with these teams. But, the problem is USC, they just haven't had the strength of schedule to go along with it. And I think UCLA has, and that's why I gave them the nod.
Yeah. I mean,
at number 8, the third Pac-12 team here in a row now, the Oregon Ducks. Reasoning here is for them, they lost once. It was beginning of the season, and they look like a completely different team since. Again, though, not really the strength of schedule that you want to see to go along with it, but they have the win over UCLA, who does have the strength of schedule to go along with the record, and they did it handed fashion, and especially these last couple of weeks. Bo Nix has looked incredible. Obviously, you kind of discount 12 passing stats because it's such an air raid style of play up there, and it's just not physical. It's always airing it out, and they don't really have great defenses like you saw when he played in the SEC that shredded him. I hope no NFL teams get kind of persuaded into drafting this kid with a first or second round pick, maybe a third or fourth if you want to use him there, but definitely not a high draft pick with Bo Nix. They've had a great season, and really it's just the margin of victory that's getting it done for me right now. The last 4 games have been really good, and they beat UCLA, who in my opinion was the best Pac-12 team at the time. When you beat the best, you are the best, and that's my thought on Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, they got some – their remaining schedule, I mean, they got Washington and Utah on there, and, Oregon State is a sleeper team. I mean, they're ranked now 23. I like this Oregon State team better than recent teams we've seen, so look out for that game. But, yeah, Oregon, they're up there every year, in that top. They float around the top 25. They go to 16, 13, big win. They go to 10, then they lose and drop back down. It's the same story.
Yeah.
It is. Every year.
State in the poll was ranked 23 from the College Football Playoff Committee.
Yeah. Yep, 23.
At number 7, one of their lowest ratings of the year, the Alabama Crimson Tide, sitting now at 8-1, 7-1. I messed that one up.
Drop even more.
7-1 Alabama Crimson Tide. Just had to edit that real quick. They fell in 6 in the playoff committee. We have them back at 7, and to me, Matt, I've talked so much about the strength of schedule and marquee wins. What is Alabama's marquee win? Because at the moment, I look back on teams they played and not currently ranked. The only team I see right now on the schedule they have beaten that is ranked inside of the college football playoff top 25 is Texas at 24, and that is probably about the weakest top 25 team I've ever seen. They even got in there, and I think we can all just say that them having LSU at 10 was to make Alabama's schedule look a lot better than it was.
Oh, jeez.
Texas keeps bouncing in and out. They get in, then they lose playing like crap, and then they get back in the next week.
Listen, I hope they don't. I've heard some rumors that they're going to get rid of Sarkisian. I hope they don't, because that's the guy they need in there. I know if he's had some problems over the years, but they need to keep him. Like, firing coaches, I mean, they're all hyped up about Herman, and now they fired him. What, you're going to do the same thing to Sarkisian before you can get anybody in? We're not even recruits yet.
Yeah. Here's the biggest thing I have with Texas. Their last game, they lost. They lost by 7 points to Oklahoma State in their last game.
Yeah.
And then the game before that, they beat Iowa State, who was the worst team in the Big 12 at 3-5 by a field goal. And then they get a bye week and they're in the top 25. If you want to talk about making Alabama's schedule look good, it is as a direct result of them putting a team that just lost in Texas inside of the top 25. They have not played like a top 25 team this season. Alabama's at 7 because they don't have the strength of the schedule and they don't have a marquee win.
Tougher. Look at these games coming up. I don't know. LSU, I mean, ranked 10th going into
which is
LSU.
Ridiculous as well.
I know. But still, you're going into Death Valley, ranked game. Next week, then you're going into Ole Miss, another ranked game.
Yeah.
And then the Iron Bowl is always the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen.
Well, Auburn just fired their head coach, so
yeah, I know they
we'll
did.
see what even happens there.
Yeah,
but we know Alabama has the talent, and that's why they sit as high as they do, and they're over the Pac-12 teams that maybe has better wins. It's that talent that just continues to shine when you can never count them out with coaching, with the talent. They're a total package team over there.
They sure are. Yeah.
At number 6, the TCU Horned Frogs, to me, have been one of the most impressive storylines of the season. However, it's starting to feel like 2014 all over again for this team as they sit 7th in the in the college football top 25. I'm going to have to keep fixing that after top 25 wins over Kansas State, Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma when ranked. Oklahoma is not in this top 25, but Oklahoma State is ranked at 18th. It has been a very impressive run. Kansas State ranked 13th in these rankings. TCU have the marquee wins. They fought it close. They beat a good Kansas team, decent SMU team. I think the one thing people have against them right now, they aren't blowing out opponents. They haven't had a blowout victory since their 55-24 pummeling Oklahoma. That's probably the one knock against them, but I see it's feeling like 2014 because they had such a great season. They felt disrespected down to the very end when Ohio State was put in above them in the college football playoff. However, I think you look back on that, committee probably got it right on who they put in there, considering the team they put in won the title.
Yeah.
But, man, I really
like this TCU team now. I mean,
Max Duggan's also up for a Heisman now.
Yeah. I saw that. But they're definitely a sleeper team. I feel like a lot of people are calling them overrated. I'm like, they're not. This team is not. Wait till they come in. I mean, man, Baylor sure is falling off this year. I totally forgot about Baylor. But they got Baylor, they got Texas, and to finish off the year they have Iowa State. And then, I mean, they should get it. They should get a good bowl game if they don't get into the playoff. If they win out and a couple other teams will lose, I think you have a valid case for them to get into the playoffs.
I think one of the things we know that Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama, likelihood is, Georgia and Tennessee obviously this weekend. Winner of that will go to the SEC championship and take on Alabama. So those 3 SEC teams all have to play one another. And then you have Clemson, who won't have to really play anybody again this season. Michigan and Ohio State have to take on one another. So you look above them, and pretty much everybody has to play one another outside of Clemson. So, like you said, so long as they win out, they should have a spot in that playoff if you take on the Big 12 title this year, especially finishing off the year against what would likely be Oklahoma State.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Well, don't know what happened on your end, but you're giggling of some sort. Number 5 on the list, that team up north. It's officially November, so I will not be saying their name again. It's a rivalry month, not just a week anymore. This group coming off a win against little brother, the Spartans, 29-7. They've been honestly really impressive, and especially on the ground game with the way that they just control the point of attack. And they might be better than they were last year. I know I was worried about this group when they had Hassan Haskins. Blake Corum might be a better runner than Haskins was, and they might have a better offensive line as well. Once again, it's going to come down to Illinois and Ohio State to finish out the year for them. We'll see what they can do. I don't think anyone looked on the schedule and saw Illinois being a problem the week before Ohio State for this team up north, but they're definitely a scenario where it could be a potential upset that they get caught looking ahead as well against a pretty good Illinois team. We know Harbaugh's record against top 25 opponents. It ain't too great, and Illinois is on that short list of teams that, are on that group that they've had to play. And I think they've just been really dominant. But again, much like Ohio State, doesn't really have a marquee win or a great strength of schedule. They didn't schedule anybody out of conference, and that's probably the biggest thing against them. At least Ohio State went out there and put Notre Dame on. Obviously, Notre Dame hasn't been very good this year, but I don't think anyone could have told you, hey, this Notre Dame team that has been good for the last 5 years, at least record-wise, would have the fall-off that they did this season.
Yeah. And this Michigan team, like, they're not only they're calm and collected this year. They really are. Usually it's them starting the fights and them making the big scenes. Like we all remember the infamous what's his name? He plays for Pittsburgh now. That he was scraping up the field a little bit ago, a couple of years ago. I forget his name, but Devin Bush, Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, of course. But I mean, the whole tunnel incident, like they kept their heads up. I mean, Michigan State suspended 4 of their players for it. I mean, Blake Corum was talking about it, like he was frustrated, he was angry, and look what they did to him, 29-7. I mean, you want to fight? Now, don't do it in a tunnel. Do it on the field. Like that's how their program has fallen apart so bad this year.
Yeah, I mean they.
Like, come on.
It wasn't a good look.
Michigan, we're talking about doing stupid stuff, but Michigan State, really?
Yeah, and I believe already 4 Spartan players have been suspended in some way. Yeah. There's assault charges being filed against them. It's
and kicking, like
hitting his player with the helmet too.
Yeah, like this isn't middle school football. This is professional. You're on a professional level.
Professional,
like college. I would
say college football is semi-pro. We don't really have a ton of semi-pro leagues.
Playing to get to the next level. You're showcasing your stuff, and the showcase. People will look at that like, oh, he gets in fights. I don't want to draft him. I don't
think anyone from State's going to the next level anytime soon. Not with the way they're playing.
God, no. But hey, man, the guy they put in the draft or through the draft last year is having one heck of a year, man.
Is he? I haven't been keeping up with the numbers for Kenneth.
Kenneth Walker. The last game I watched with the Seahawks, Seahawks are looking good. They don't even have Russell Wilson. Geno Smith is doing just fine. 32-year-old veteran, hasn't started, and they're doing way better than the Broncos country. Like, that's something. Kenneth Walker is
5 rushing touchdowns for Walker, 461 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. Not bad.
For his rookie year, that's doing great.
And he's scored each of their last 3 games.
Yeah.
He's also getting almost 20 carries a game. That's insane. No one gets that kind of workload and puts up that number. It's just ask Najee Harris. I mean, he'll get 20 carries, but he does it on, 2.9 yards per carry.
That's offensive.
Behind a subpar offensive line and offensive coordinator.
When we get our top Steelers to lose. We'll be in the top 10 picks. Get a big hunky dude from the a big offensive line school.
Go to Wisconsin, go to Iowa, go to Alabama, go to Nebraska, any of those
teams. I was about to say Nebraska, but I don't think I want anybody from Nebraska.
Well, we always know, no matter how bad their teams are, they have the big corn-fed linemen.
Yeah. We need somebody big.
We need a corn-fed lineman.
We just need to go and get a couple of sumo wrestlers. They know how to pass block. Pushing people around. That's the art of
pushing. At number 4, Clemson. And this has been a big dispute between college football fans since the playoff committee put their polls out. Everyone's saying, oh, well, that team up north would clobber Clemson, put them at 4. Why is this team at 4? Matt, purely, I think they are there because of the strength of schedule they have. You look on the list, Wake Forest is number 21 in this poll. NC State is ranked 22nd, and Syracuse is ranked 20th. 3 top 25 wins for this Clemson group. They've also put in a couple of other tough matchups against Boston College, who we know has plenty of talent over there with former Cheney standout Clive Wilson and former defensive coordinator of Ohio State and Jeff Hafley, who's the coach there. Hasn't done a whole lot. Still waiting for that to come together. But they also beat a Florida State team that everyone was going on as, hey, this team is back. They're here. They're going to compete. They went close to Clemson, but again, Tigers just keep winning. And again, when this team plays their best, they have a superstar caliber running back like they did with Travis Etienne. They got Will Shipley now. And this boy, I mean, he's running all over the place against Syracuse. 2 touchdowns on 172 yards, 6.4 yards per carry for him. Clemson, to me, is in the position they are because they win every single time they've touched that field. And I know that team up north has as well. And they've obviously done it a lot more dominantly. But it's that marquee wins. You know, you have 3 of them. And that team up north has 1. Oh, I think you're frozen. Oh, he's definitely frozen. Just put him up here. Let's see what he does. Great thoughts there, Matt. You're definitely frozen. We'll get back to you on that. So at number 3, Georgia, as I'll just pop him out of here for a second as he refreshes. But Georgia coming in at number 3. This, again, another kind of dispute. They go from, pardon me, number 1 in the AP polls. They stay number 1 in the AP polls. College Football Playoff Committee comes out and they go, not so fast. Georgia falls to 3. We've kind of had them floating around this spot the last couple of weeks. We had them at 3 a week ago, 3 the week before. They've been at 3 ever since, I think it was Tennessee's win over Alabama. After that, it has been pretty much Georgia sitting at 3. That's where we find them here again. And again, their group marquee win was week 1 against Oregon. And I think we all look back and you go, yeah, that Oregon team's a lot different now. They still have a chance to get that win this weekend against Tennessee. They have Kentucky coming up later on, who obviously has fallen out of the top 25. But really the only test left for Georgia is Tennessee. And you look at their schedule and you go, yeah, I mean, they probably should have had some good games in there. But you look at it, only 1 top 25 opponent on the entire schedule. And you look at their SEC slate, which is normally difficult. South Carolina, bad. Missouri, bad. Auburn, so bad they fired the coach. Vanderbilt's never good at football. And they beat a rebuilding Florida program that is the third worst, in the entire SEC this season. So it has not been an impressive slate here in conference play. Matt, I'm talking Georgia football here.
Yeah, we got Irish.
The one knock, yeah, I noticed that. The one knock for them, on my opinion here, their SEC slate has been abysmal. They only have the 1 good win on the season, 1 top 25 matchup. They won it handedly, of course. That's why they're still number 3, and they have a chance to get a second one here this weekend against Tennessee. We look at their slate of games in the SEC: South Carolina, Mizzou, Vanderbilt, Auburn, and Florida. Pretty much the bottom feeders of the league this year. You look at it. Florida is second worst in the SEC East. Vanderbilt's the worst in the SEC East. South Carolina is, at the moment, the 4th worst team, also the 4th best team in the East, and then Auburn is the worst team in the SEC West. So they have not had that strength of schedule inside of the SEC that you would have hoped up from this level of a team, and they have the big win against Oregon, which is why they sit so highly.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia, and we're going to see more of them. They have some big games coming. Tennessee's coming. That's soon.
That's the only one I look at this point.
Yeah.
That should give them a problem. Will Levis in that offense of Kentucky might give them something, but I don't really expect the defense to have a struggle against Will Levis. He's good, but he's no Hendon Hooker, who is now first place for Heisman, which I don't know if I totally agree with.
I mean, it's a toss-up there. You can argue about that. They're both good quarterbacks, CJ and Hendon. But, I mean, Hendon Hooker is his power. I mean, CJ's got great weapons around him. I don't know where.
And Hendon Hooker's 25 years old, playing his 5th season in college football.
Yeah.
Or 6th season, one of the two.
Is he really 25?
He's old, yeah. He's not a young player. Let me see what the official.
But I mean, all it takes is 1 year. All it takes is 1 year to showcase yourself. I mean, look at Pickett.
Yeah.
Look at Pickett last year. I mean,
I would say look at Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow too.
Yeah, but no, I still have Stroud as that favorite for the Heisman in my book. I mean, so long as you went out. I mean, he has the numbers. Every number is better in his favorite.
He does.
In his favor.
He's got some receivers too. I mean, look, Penn State did all they could, and they could not cover Marvin Harrison Jr. Harrison Jr. went off.
They had their best corners on Egbuka, Fleming.
And you guys didn't even have Smith did Jigba.
Right. We didn't have our best wide receiver out there. And can you imagine if Ohio State had their top 4 guys out there? I mean, there would have been two guys open every single time.
Yeah.
And give credit. Penn State's defense, we'll go ahead and throw it up here. Ohio State number 2 after going up against Penn State in State College last week. I thought overall a really great game. But
it was a good game. Yeah.
It just came down to the point. Ohio State had too many weapons. Penn State just couldn't cover them all.
Yeah.
I mean, you had your two best corners out there locking up. Egbuka and Fleming got no space all game long. So what did Stroud do? Well, he went to Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe the best wide receiver in college football. And then he went to Cade Stover, converted corner linebacker kind of player to tight end.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's huge. But former defensive player, and he played in the Rose Bowl last year on the defense. It made the switch to offense because they didn't have any tight ends.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Gotta do what you gotta do, right.
All right, number 1.
I will say this. I have Ohio State at 2. I mean, I have Ohio State at 3 in my rankings. You and Mike both have them at 2. I do have Georgia higher because they have, or I have Clemson higher because they have 3 top 25 wins. But I definitely have Ohio State right behind as a close second. Only problem, again, Ohio State has 1 top 25 matchup. They're going into their first back-to-back road trip of the season after the win against Penn State, now Northwestern.
Yeah,
I mean, the criticism is obvious for Ohio State. Who have you really beaten? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I love my Buckeyes, but if it was
Penn State was the biggest test. Penn State was winning with 6 minutes left, and that was just I mean, a couple of YSN guys and I were going back and forth. You saw that, they put up 40 points. Well, Penn State beat themselves in those last 4 minutes.
Ohio State beat Penn State. And Ohio State forgot how to play football.
They made way more mistakes than they should have, and that's what happens when you're playing a top team like that. I mean, that's what happens.
It's not like Sean Clifford was throwing bad passes.
No,
Ohio State just kept getting in the perfect position to take them away. I think Ohio State, Penn State didn't lose the game. Ohio State just won it.
Yeah, I mean,
because talent showed out when the stars needed to shine.
Yeah,
better team came out. At number 1, though, the Volunteers. I mean, make it obvious, right? You take down Alabama, and now your matchup against LSU is a top 15 matchup. That was crap. 40-13. Yeah, LSU is not a top 25 team whatsoever. But again, and they murdered Kentucky this past week, 44-6. I mean, you shut down Will Levis that much. I mean, the defense finally showed up in a big game, and here's where they stand. They got Georgia coming up, then Mizzou, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. A trip to Tennessee is very clear on how far this team can go. I mean, you could honestly lose to Georgia and still make it into the college football playoff with a 9-1 with an 11-1 record.
Yeah, you could.
But you can find that full poll on our Twitter page right now. I've been Alec Caberna. That's Matt Morrison. Michael rejoin the show tomorrow. I got to figure out what we're talking about Friday. We're going to be saving that for high school football playoffs. Got about 13 games, I think, on the network. So we'll be talking about that as the week goes on. But I'm Alec. That's Matt. It's Casual Sports Podcast on your sports network. Power Hour